Right, a lot of cowboys knew that I lived with Bill, and they're legendary status, these guys, and they were incredible with horses and cattle, and kind of opened the door to a kind of a new way of thinking about it. And so I thought, how could I write this song? Because I didn't want to go, Bill Dorrance was a man, he was a hell of a man. I didn't want to do that, So I had this picture hanging on my wall of Bill riding this horse named Patrick that before my time of knowing Bill. And Patrick was big, rangy, kind of thoroughbred thing. Bill liked those kind of horses. And he acquired Patrick. Patrick had already been rode, and he was what people would consider very dangerous. He was really, really sensitive and super athletic. The beauty of Bill Dorrance, he looked at all that sensitivity and all that athleticism. And he said, if I can get that working for me, I'm going to have a hell of a horse. And Bill was an old school dude, really old. I called him up, I was starting to write the song, and I was in Montana, and he was super stoic, Bill was, We all loved him, and all us cowboys around there, we emulated. We wanted to be like Bill and Tom, We had great role models to go after. Bill talked like that, kind of, he had all boys, super old. Still horseback, He built a ramp, he could get on from the ramp. Once he was on, he didn't even need to get out of it. Most I ever saw him was a trot. He didn't need to get out. He was so smart. That old, people be roping, and and he was a beautiful roper, and braided riatas. You'd see, and in California, we head them and then we heel them at a branding, So somebody take a headshot, and these calves bouncing around on the end of the rope, and you'll see all these guys throw and miss, throw and miss, throw and miss, and Bill just be there. And while they're coiling up to take another shot, he'd start in. Sometimes it would get tangled on him. Just as smooth as could be, and then he'd just catch 200 feet and go to the fire. And I said, there's something about, when he got older, he learned, he was so open-minded about learning. It didn't take strength, take something else, But he was so stoic, and me and Brian Newbert, we loved Bill. We had a joke, he'd call him up, and he was of that old school, no emotion. You call and say, he'd go, hello. Hey, Bill, it's Mike Beck. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like a dad to me. I lived with him. He loved me. I loved him. Oh, yeah. So we always had a joke, me and Brian. You could be dead for 5 years and call Bill up and say, hey, he'd go, hello. Yeah, Bill, this is Mike Beck. I've been dead for 5 years. I thought I'd call you. He'd go, oh, yeah. He didn't get hipped up on things. He had all these old words like hipped up. Oh,
Hipped up.
that horse kind of hipped up in the little. And if you threw, and you missed, or you did something right, he taught me how to rope, if you threw him, he'd say, well, Mike, that was the time to throw. He could watch you say, just tip your hand a little this way. He's so observant, And he used to say this in the old school, yep, that's a dope. When you're doing something, well, I miss him still. So I thought, I'll write this song about Patrick, and it'll say everything I want to say about Bill without saying Bill's name. So I called him up. Hello? Yeah, Bill, this is Mike Beck. Oh, yeah.
Sounds like Biden.
I'm writing a song about Patrick. I wanted to ask you some things about it. He goes, oh, yeah. Now, as well as I knew Bill, and I was playing music then when I lived with him, he wasn't interested. He didn't say anything bad about it. But he was that old school, like, I remember I was Brian Newbert. I looked up to him, great hand, a cowboy, you might know him. And he could do the ocean wave with just a little beginning rope trick, And I'd be practicing that. And Bill was a beautiful roper. And he said to me, well, it'd be pretty good if a feller was spending some time learning something that might be useful. And so I said, well, can you tell me some things about Patrick? He said, oh, yeah, well, when he stopped, he used all 4 feet real good. That was it, kind of. Yeah. And so in this song, that's in there. Yeah. And so Patrick it took a long time. I heard stories especially after I wrote this song. And Ray Hunt, a great horseman that traveled around with the Dorrance, spreading this thing. They were branding up on Mount Toro, where this song takes place, the highest peak in the Santa Lucia Range. You can look all the way down to Big Sur, way over the Santa Cruz Mountains, down all the way down by the pinnacles, and it's like here. It's a slice of old California, you know. And he said when he'd unsaddled Patrick, you know, the other horses go out there and roll, you know. Patrick would take a run. He had to go way up around the houses, and he jumped in a pond like a border collie. It felt good to run, you know. And I heard stories one time when Bill was working, he got away from Bill. Jerked away from him when he was on the ground, and he hooked onto the clothesline, and there was 3 boys with cloth, you know, they all had cloth diapers on there was a ton of diapers on this line. And this booger took off with this. He went through like 5 fences before they ever got it. Slowed down. But Bill wasn't a showman. He was a incredible horseman, but he was raising a family and cattle. But down in Salinas, at the Salinas Rodeo, in the morning, before they rodeo, they got working cow horse class. So they're working cows, horseback, in the bridle, the snaffle bit, in the bosal, in the 2-rein. And I will venture to say in 1957 that the very best guys doing that were all Californians. And that's true. They were Californians. So the best horses and the best guys were there. And he took Patrick down there in his old wooden horse trailer with the canvas top, and he won the bridle class, which is big medicine. And back then you didn't get some crappy little buckle and a tech stand saddle or something. You got a saddle order at Garcia Saddlery. And Bill had a saddle made for him, and on the Cheyenne roll had a little silver plate there that said, Bill Dorrance, you know, first place, bridle class, Salinas Rodeo, 1957. The fog's coming in the morning. It's a California thing. Now, the eucalyptus trees, the fog's come through. I get goosebumps thinking about it, you know. So this takes place up on Mount Toro. And we're in the perfect setting for it. Glad you reminded me to play this one. And so then, I was on tour with Ian Tyson in California, and Dave Dorrance, Bill's son, was at the show, and I played this song for the first time in front of people. And Dave came up at the break, and I said, "Do you think Bill would like it?" And Dave said, "Oh yeah." Dave is a beautiful guy, man. And I said, and as well as I knew Bill, I'd never played guitar for him. I just, you know, I didn't bring it around. I played it, but not around him, you know. Get some water here. So I said, should I play it for him? Or should I record it and give it to him? He says, I'd play it for him. So I had a little time after that show, and I called up Bill. Hey, Bill, this is Mike. Oh, yeah. And he used to say after this, he'd say, can you come on up? Always loved to have me around. And he said this, I understand you got a story about that horse. I said, well, it's a song, Bill, and it's about Patrick. He said, yeah, if a feller had a little time, I wouldn't mind hearing that. And I get emotional. I think about if I had a little time. But this guy gave me his time like nobody. I mean, the gift I look back, it was a true one-on-one mentorship with this guy. I mean, it was just amazing, you know. So he was quite old. I went up there. We did some stuff. He was braiding some riatas. It was kind of cold out. He was by the wood stove in the house. And he was probably 91. And so we had lunch there. And he said, well, I got to make some phone calls. Maybe if you had a little time, I'd sure like to hear that song. Or that story about that horse. I said, well, it's a song, Bill. And I went and got my guitar, and I was quite nervous bringing it in there. And I played it for him, and I knew, you know, that he would let me know if there was anything wrong. But he loved it, and then he started telling me all kinds of Patrick stories. The song is already written. My name is Patrick, and I live in the mountains outside Salinas, way up in the sky. And my name is Patrick, and the man who rides me, you know, he feels what I feel, and he thinks what I think, and his touch goes down to my feet. Well, my name is Patrick, and it's easy to run. I can stop on 4 feet, and no cow can get by me. And I'm straight up in the bridle, and my reins and riata, they're braided by the man I allow on my back, whose touch goes down to my feet. Well, back in '57, the bridal class in Salinas, the great horses were there, and the men who rode them too. And I chased the wild cow, and I turned her on the fence, and the people all cheered, and they all looked at me. My name is Patrick, and I live in the mountains outside Salinas, way up in the sky. And my name is Patrick, and the man who rides me, you know, he feels what I feel, and he thinks what I think, and his touch goes down to my feet. And when I'm turned out in the golden hills, I eat the sweetest grass that grows under the oak trees where the fog drips to the ground. Now my name is Patrick, and I sleep on the ridges where the wind off the ocean brings the scent of manzanita, and it blows through my mane.